Welcome to today's session about advanced organizational development. Today we will talk about some of the organization development intervention techniques from the view of various experts, practitioners, and researchers in the field in order to bring about desirable behavioral changes. Before we can actually implement anything, we need to look into the root causes of that. So today we'll talk about some of those categories of interventions. Interventions are the actions that we take to produce some sort of a desired change in the organization. So if things are not going well, we have to intervene. Otherwise, things will continue to go in the same direction as they have been going. So that's why interventions are oftentimes required in order to bring about the right or desirable changes in the organization. This is where obviously HR has to intervene, top executives have to intervene, employees have to intervene, sometimes the law has to intervene to bring about the desired changes. Almost in all cases, either internal or external organizational development consultants are involved as part of this process. There are various conditions which demand OD intervention. For example, if the organization has an immediate problem, you need to take corrective action to fix it. If the organization sees an unrealized opportunity, you need to take action. You need to intervene in order to enable certain individuals, certain departments to seize the opportunity while it is still there. Otherwise, your competitors will take advantage of the opportunity and you will be put obviously at a disadvantage. There are certain features of organizations sometimes that are out of alignment with the organization's overall strategy or the industry's expectations. So this is where you need alignment action to get things back in sync. And keep in mind that yesterday's action is likely to no longer be good enough to help you compete or stay a leader in today's environment in the coming year or two. So you need to take action toward bringing about a new vision. So these are the actions that are necessary to build certain structures, processes, and cultures to make the new vision a reality. So if we're trying to create dissatisfaction with the status quo and then introduce some new change, then we need to institutionalize this new change. There are many actions, activities, and obviously planned strategies that need to take place and put into action before you can expect any sort of success. So interventions are oftentimes necessary and they require a lot of work. Some of the major families of OD interventions tend to include, number one, being diagnostic, determining basically the root causes of problems and then determining the right tools to implement as part of the intervention. Team building sessions, intergroup interventions, education and training. There are sometimes structural adjustments that companies make. Process consultation, third-party peacemaking intervention. You can have coaching and counseling as part of this process to bring about desirable changes. You can have even life and career planning for all the employees so they can stay with you in order to eliminate the high turnover the company might be experiencing, or in order to eliminate some of the lawsuits that the organization is getting from the complaints of the employees not being treated well, or even to keep sometimes the unions out of your organization. If employees are not happy, that means managers are not doing certain things that they should be doing. Therefore, obviously, employees will vote for the union, and in that case, that company deserves to be unionized because employees need that collective voice, and without, obviously, that collective voice, individually, they cannot bring the desirable changes to make the conditions better. And you can have planning and goal setting for your employees to keep the motivation high and to keep going in the right direction according to the vision and mission of the company. You can have strategic management, whether it's at the organization level overall or whether HR is doing this as part of being the strategic partner of the organization. And you can have, obviously, the focus of dialogic OD processes and inclusion to bring about the right changes. So each of these families of interventions can include many activities that would be necessary from the outset all the way through the intervention or implementation, and then post-implementation to make sure we take corrective steps to bring about the desirable changes for the organization. Let us look at some general OD practices and interventions and how it might take place based on the experiences of various consultants and experts in the industry. Holistically, we can see a number of different interventions being necessary for any organization. First of all, you need the participation and involvement of all relevant stakeholders in the organization or in the department that deals with this specific problem or opportunity that you're working on. And then you have to also be concerned about how to build the team to where they all can be working effectively. This is where dialogic OD and inclusion techniques may be very helpful. How you go about the process consultation, which is another intervention technique to bring about the changes, goal setting, as we mentioned. You also can look at research, for example, has recommended job enrichment, which could be a technique that you can implement to bring about the desirable changes, again, depending on what the problem is and the root causes of it. Obviously, change management is something that all of us have dealt with in the organizational life regularly. Training is where I spent much of my corporate life in management, being involved in regularly training employees as well as managers and even executives to bring about the desirable changes. Coaching leaders, managers, or employees and professionals in the organization to be really good at what they do. Providing feedback and having performance improvements on an ongoing basis has been something that many companies have used to bring about the desirable changes or to enhance performance. Developing potential in career development or succession planning, especially as more and more of the baby boomers have been retiring over the past few decades. We've had the need to plan and replace them with obviously knowledgeable younger individuals who can continue their success. So collaborative planning and problem solving, and you see that in self-managed teams nowadays, and the rise of teams in organizations, obviously gives us an indication that it works. Teams and groups managing themselves remove some of the hierarchies and some of the managerial levels as well. Organizational structures and reporting systems oftentimes do change. So as I've alluded to, the fact that sometimes when a company goes too far into being decentralized, then they have to move back to some centralization in order to take advantage of certain efficiencies. And if they're too centralized already, then obviously they'll have to move toward decentralization in order to empower those closest to the customer or stakeholders to make decisions more quickly. And then there are large-scale interventions. And during the last year and this year, as we're still dealing with COVID-19 pandemic, unfortunately, there has been many organizational structures that have changed in a large scale. And thousands of employees have been laid off, furloughed, and some organizations have had to change their total model in order to survive and keep some of their employees working at the organization. So regardless of what OD practices or interventions you use, the goal, remember here, is to deal with a specific problem or opportunity. So you always start with diagnosing what the root cause is before you can determine the appropriate intervention from organization development perspective. Some experts have, again, alluded to various forms of action research activities or models. So in general, one of the models we can look at is the fact that there's always an entry point. So once you have diagnosed a problem, we start with an entry point to do the basic foundational work and form the team and so on. And then you begin your assessment in feedback to the team, to the organizational leaders, and to whoever is actually sponsoring the change. Then there's action planning and change management strategy that you all come up with as a group. So again, the dialogic model of OD processes can help, because here you get a group of people working together to create meaning or make meaning as a result of the data that you get, and then therefore as a group you keep moving forward to bring about the desirable changes or solutions that are needed to take advantage of the opportunity or to solve the problem. And eventually you move into the intervention implementation. So you implement, take action, and then you evaluate. So once you have evaluated, you then basically determine that we can basically end now because the solution of the problem has been implemented successfully and there is no problem at this stage. Or you can basically continue to adopt a new model and improve the process until it gets to the point where you and your clients are successful in goal achievement. Some pointers to keep in mind when it comes to the entry: know the answers to questions such as what are the important activities at the entry stage? What are some important issues to be mindful of at this entry or beginning stage? You need to clarify the organizational issues. Be very clear about the framework of what the problem is and identify some of the symptoms as well as the root causes of the problem. Oftentimes it's been said that 50% of the solution is to identify the right problem. Once you identify it, then usually your teammates, your group members will help you achieve the right solutions for it. And also determine who is your most important or relevant clients in this process. Think about the working power and authority level that various people on the project might have. Sometimes there are multiple clients and there's a matrix structure where the functional bosses might not necessarily agree with what the corporate level bosses actually want. So specify the mission of the project so you can sort of tell your success based on the milestones that you achieve, and at least toward the end, once you're done, whether you were successful at it or not. Some experts like Marvin Weisbord identify 6 critical areas where things must go right if the organization is to be successful in bringing about the desired changes. According to Weisbord, the consultant must attend to both formal as well as informal aspects of each box. So think about the politics that might exist in the organization, whether they are a single structured organization where everybody always knows who to report to the next level, or where it's a matrix structure. So regardless, there's going to be some politicking involved, so be aware of those formalities. The 6-box model can be used for diagnosing the root causes or the problems that exist in the reasons or the rationale for it. So think about the overall purposes of a team doing their job or not achieving maybe the level of satisfaction that is desired or the level of performance that is desired. What about the structures? How are they impacting the people involved to get their job done? What about the reward systems and other helpful mechanisms that exist in the environment and the structure of the relationship overall between teams, among teams, interdepartmentally, and also the relationship of employees and managers to the higher up or those who are formal and informal leaders in the organization. So as you're assessing the environment using some tool like value-based decision making or SWOT analysis, hopefully the 6-box model sort of helps you to diagnose what the root causes of the problem might be, and then frame the problem as one statement that hopefully the client agrees that that is the main problem, and then you can sort of jointly design the right solution for it in order to implement the intervention. Experts such as Richard Daft mentioned that OD interventions involve training of specific groups or everyone in the organization in order for this to be successful. So as part of this training process, obviously you determine what the outcome would be before you can begin the training, or even before you can get a budget for it. So therefore, know that all OD interventions are going to require some development on the part of not just the original core team members who are diagnosing and implementing, but also everybody who's being impacted by the changes that you want in the organization or in the department. Now, there are large group interventions, team building, and interdepartmental activities that can be used to bring about behavioral changes in the culture of the organization. So let us look at these three activities in terms of some examples and how they have been implemented in the past, and perhaps how you could implement them in your workplace in the future. First of all, as we look at the definitions, the large group intervention approach brings together various participants, employees, managers, customers, clients from all parts of the organization in an off-site setting to discuss the problems or opportunities and make plan for bringing about the desirable changes. The team building intervention promotes the idea that people who work together can work as a team. A work team can be brought together to discuss various conflicts, the goals of the department or the project, the decision-making process, how you communicate between your teammates and across various departments, the creativity that can come about of everybody putting their heads together, and the overall leadership. In interdepartmental activities, you'll have various representatives from different departments who are brought together in a mutual location to expose existing problems or conflicts, diagnose the causes of those problems or even opportunities, and plan improvements in communication and coordination among all of you so you could implement them properly. In terms of team building interventions, you can have intact work teams or you can have special teams. Intact work teams might be used for diagnostic meetings. This is where team building is focused on goal setting, decision making, problem solving, and other functions that might be necessary. Intact teams are also good for building and maintaining effective interpersonal relationships. Also, role analysis techniques for role clarification. On the other hand, you might have special teams that can be used for team building that is focused on task accomplishments that are perhaps new and different. There might be inter-unit conflicts where special teams could intervene as third parties. Also, you can have role negotiations, so this is where special teams could be helpful. Let us look at a large group intervention at IKEA. These types of large group interventions usually involve anywhere from 50 to 500 people, and many days and sometimes weeks of planned work, training, and strategizing among them, and then their involvement as part of the implementation process. IKEA used the large group intervention approach to completely reconceptualize how the company actually operated. Over many days, they had over 18 hours of meetings, which included 52 stakeholders. They created a new system for product design, for manufacturing and distribution, which involved delayering the hierarchy and decentralizing the entire organization. So those are high-level decisions that have to be made, but if you make them with everybody present in agreement, usually the implementation and the buy-in and commitment will be there to basically achieve the result that you all need. So all employees and managers in all departments that had the information, relevant resources, and an interest in a design outcome actually jointly created and implemented this new system. So the more you involve everybody, the more likely you will obviously implement it more successfully. Another example of large group intervention is actually General Electric's workout program. The workout program at GE begins with large-scale off-site meetings that get people talking across functional, hierarchical, and organizational boundaries. Employees and managers come together from all parts of the company to join customers and suppliers as part of the concurrent engineering or teamwork sessions to discuss and solve specific problems that are delegated to them to take care of. This process forces quick analysis of diverse ideas, the creation of relevant solutions, and the development of a practical plan that can be implemented quickly and successfully. The workout program creates a culture where ideas are rapidly translated into action, as well as positive business results that can be benefiting not just the employees, but obviously the stockholders of the organization as well. There has been much written actually about GE's workout program. So this is where they actually bring people together, they give them a challenge, they brainstorm solutions, they present recommendations, and they make decisions at a town hall meeting, and then they implement and review. So bringing people together, hopefully working more inclusively through dialogic OD processes, basically means that they come up with a solution that is agreed upon by everybody, and hopefully then it will make the implementation process easier because there will be less resistance from everybody since they were involved at the outset. The workout program involves everyone. This is where you have the top-down involvement and support and the bottom-up. So in this case, all leaders and all employees and managers should be working together and jointly to bring about positive changes to the specific problem that they're dealing with. To look at another example regarding interdepartmental activities would be United Health Group. The United Health Group is the largest health insurer in the United States and one of the most influential companies in the industry. They used organization development intervention to build a more humane, civil, and collaborative work environment at this large organization that deals obviously with healthcare challenges that we're all a part of. Their chief executive officer, Stephen Helmsley, said, "We were too self-centered and needlessly aggressive. So due to incivility, the work culture was very toxic with a lot of IQ, but not much EQ. As part of DoD intervention, 8,000 managers were sent to 3-day sensitivity training program to become more aware of their own personal biases and to be more sensitive to others. Overall, employees became more civil and respectful to each other, as one of the guidelines they live by now is assume positive intent." See, we hear the statement of assume positive intent, but in order for this to sink in into our behaviors on a day-to-day basis, in our interactions and collaborations with our colleagues and teammates, there has to be a lot of training on what is the important point of this, how do we go about it, and how does it relate to our mission, to our vision, to our values, and obviously our overall work environment and our success in the long run. Team building and other organization development activities have resulted in a drop in employee turnover from 20% in 2008 to only 8% in 2012. So in 4 years, they had basically a 12% drop in their employee turnover. Imagine the benefits that came as a result of obviously saving the 12% of the workers. Think about the retraining. Think about a lot of experience being kept into the organization. Think about all of the training that benefits maybe patients, maybe other customers, vendors, and clients that deal with the organization because that experience was there. And the recommendations that come as a result of that 12% being here and staying another year, another year, another year. And the company can capitalize on their experience over and over again. The CEO believes that leading a healthcare revolution is a very tough, never-ending challenge, especially when one is trying to find the right balance between the analytical and the emotional. We need people who are extremely bright and can do statistical analysis and make decisions for us, but we also need people who are highly mature individuals that can show patience, integrity, and high emotional maturity in all instances. In summary, we can say that for OD interventions to be successful, all senior managers and leaders in the organization must see the need for OD, and they should provide enthusiastic support for the change in all involved employees, managers, and OD consultants. If you would like to know a little bit more about one of the OD consultants that has really become very popular over the last 55 or so years is actually Edgar Shine. He talks about humble inquiry or humble leadership. I would recommend you watch this interview about humble leadership with Edgar Shine. And this is where the Google executive is actually interviewing him and talking about his views about how this material can be implemented in the workplace. Now, Edgar Shine defines humble inquiry as the fine art of drawing someone out, of asking questions to which you do not know the answer, of building a relationship based on curiosity and interest in the person. So think about how you can use this definition of humble inquiry to be a very good and effective organizational development consultant. Also, you may want to look at the videos produced by Boucher and Marshak on dialogic OD approach to transformation. So these discussions that they have in part 1 and 2 of this dialogic OD approach to transformation and change can be very helpful for you and I to better understand our role in the transformation process. And finally, I recommend you also watch the interview with Dr. Edgar Shine on dialogic OD. As always, remember that organization development and change management are part of life. So we need to police, evaluate, and improve our consultancy skills, communication skills, dialogic OD, inclusive communication skills, and other relevant skills every single day. Good luck.